Oh, I can see the sari. Someone put up the sari there. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Smiling people. Thank you.
Okay. I will share the QR code.
Yoga, yes, indeed. Yoga as a practice is more than 4,000 years old.
Okay. Okay, the QR code once more, if you want to answer. Yes, excellent. Okay, one more minute if you want to answer, and then Shirin, the floor is yours.
Yes, indeed, a lot of people. Hinduism, of course, still the majority of the people are Hindus in the country, although we have a very diverse landscape of religion as well. Yes, indeed, Islam. Stop on the head. That's actually the bindi, I think she's talking about.
Okay. Okay, Shirin, now you can share your presentation.
Thank you all for introducing all the diverse aspects of India. Just a moment, I'll share my screen and then we take off. Okay, so just give me a moment. And here we are. So as you highlighted, there are many aspects of India, but today we're going to talk about India's food diversity. Now, you talked about many things that came to your mind, and some of you even mentioned the spices or the Indian curry. In India, they say, if you can eat it, it must be flavored with spice. Such is the influence of spices on our Indian food. It is the spices which add aroma, flavor, and nutrition to the Indian cuisine, which makes it one of the most diverse cuisines in the world. Now, the thing about spices is that In order to enjoy the mesmerizing world of spices, one needs to visit the spice market. We need to feel the spices. We need to smell the spices. And this is what a typical spice market in India looks like. You can have a look at all the three pictures. In India, we call the spice market the masala mandi. Masala means spice in Hindi, and mandi is a bazaar or a market. Now, when we talk about India and her history, we have to talk about the story of spices. Indeed, the story of spices is the story of India's history. Now, in the world of spices, India is at the center. No other country has done more with the use of spices than India. Spices, in turn, have shaped the course of Indian history and culture. Indians were trading spices with the Romans thousands of years ago. Between the 7th and the 15th century, Arab merchants sold spices to Europe, secretly sourcing them from India. Powerful outsiders came to India first to trade, then rule and conquer the country, thanks to the lure of spices. It's the spices which brought them to India, and it's the spices which gave them the taste of magnificence, something they had never tasted back home. Martina, I have a question. Do you think spices are used only for cooking by the Indians?
It's a very difficult question, but I think no.
Oh, wonderful. A very interesting guess. You would be surprised to know that spices have so many uses in India that food is only one such use they are put to. Spices have a lot of medicinal properties. In fact, one of you mentioned Ayurveda, top of the mind recall of India. It is a 5,000-year science of the body and mind, and Ayurveda uses spices to treat a body or a mind because they infuse spices, they infuse health into our bodies. Such is the importance of spices as highlighted by Ayurveda. So for centuries, Indians have used spices not just in their food or for cooking, but for their medicinal value as well. Okay, now we all know that Indians love hot, spicy food. And because of the spices, the Indian curry has become world famous. But what is this Indian curry? One needs to understand, is there one Indian curry or do you have many Indian curries? Well, the simple answer is the diversity of spices create a diverse mix of curry powders, and hence you have different Indian curry powders. There is no single Indian curry powder. Now, with this variety of spices and their skillful blending is how we create these different curry powders. Just to give you a bit of some interesting information, there are more than 100 different kinds of spices in India. India has more than 29 states. Each state has its unique blend of spices. These spices, when put together, creates this festival of flavors, which makes Indian cuisine very diverse in the world. So spices add an element of diversity to Indian culture. But as I said, there are 100 spices, and I can't put all of them together in a 20-minute presentation. So I'm going to talk about 7 main spices that make a typical curry powder mix. So there you are. I'm sure most of you would understand or recognize these spices. Let's begin with the first one. As you can see, these are red chilies. Red chilies add fire to an Indian dish. They can be used as whole or they can be ground and used while cooking a dish. Martina, do you know where the red chilies came from to India?
I have no idea, Shirin.
Oh my God. It is actually very interesting. Red chilies came to India only 500 years back. And who got them to India? The Portuguese. Yes, indeed. The red chilies came from Portugal 500 years back. And before 500 years, Indians were not even using red chilies in their cooking. So that's a very interesting piece of information. The second important spice is the black pepper, which is grown in the south of India, in the state of Kerala. Now, black pepper can be ground or used as whole seeds. It gives a strong, lurking flavor to any Indian dish that you add it to. The next important spice, if you can recognize the spice, I've seen a lot of this here in the Czech Republic also, it's the cumin. Now, cumin seeds are the most basic spice. In fact, they are also called the curry spice. They can again be used as whole seeds or can be ground and even used as a seasoning on any Indian dish. In fact, cumin seeds, I would say, are the most widely used, and probably each and every household in India should have cumin seeds. They give a very nice, tangy flavor to a dish. Coriander seeds, again, a very, very basic spice in the hands of an Indian cook. Now, these can again be used as whole or ground. Ground coriander seeds thicken curries and give them a fruity or a nutty taste. In fact, coriander leaves are also very, very important. They are chopped and sprinkled as garnishing on an Indian dish, and they give it a very scintillating flavor. The pleasant sweetness and a nice aroma which comes from an Indian dish is thanks to the green cardamom. The green cardamoms are again grown in Kerala, which is in the southern part of India. The sixth spice, I'm not sure how many of you know about the fenugreek. The fenugreek seeds are very bitter tasting. However, they are used by Indian cooks as whole seeds typically to enhance the flavor of other spices. So you use the fenugreek with other spices to increase the flavor of the other spices. Now, what's important about fenugreek is you need to roast them dark brown before you actually start, using them in the dish to reduce their bitterness. Coming to the last spice, I think majority would know the spice. It's called the turmeric. This is that spice which adds a rich golden yellow color to any Indian curry. The other thing about turmeric is it has enormous medicinal properties, which is why it is highly propagated by the science of Ayurveda. This is the reason why turmeric is called the golden spice. It is not just for its color and aroma, but also for its medicinal properties. Now, the thing about spices is, of course, the variety. I told you there are more than 100 kinds of spices, and it's that variety which creates a variety of curry powders and different Indian curries. But more than that, one needs to understand that spices should be typically used fresh and ground in a stone, mortar and pestle. I've seen lots of these in the Czech Republic as well. So the best way to enhance the flavor of these spices is to roast them and then grind them fresh in the mortar and pestle. The Indian name for the mortar and pestle, this typical stone, as you can see, is called the silbatta. That's the Indian name. And even today, most Indian households like to grind their spices fresh. So, Martina, we come to the king of spices. What do you think is the king of spices?
I think that is garam masala.
Yes, I think I've given it away. It is indeed the garam masala. Now, what is this garam masala all about? I'll try to explain this because I've seen lots of it everywhere. Now, you need to understand garam masala means hot spice. Why do we call it hot? It is a mixture, a special spice mix, which has heat generating spices like the cloves, as you can see here, the cinnamon, the green cardamom, black peppercorns, black cardamom, cumin, nutmeg, and bay leaves. And of course, there are different ways of making the garam masala. This is the most important aromatic spice mix which is used, as I said, for the aroma. The most important thing about a garam masala is it is the final seasoning, not a curry powder mix which you use while you cook. The garam masala is used at the final stage as the final embellishment or seasoning on a dish. And here again, the best way to get those flavors out of the garam masala is by grinding these spices fresh in a stone, mortar, and pestle. And that's how, even today, the good chefs, the so-called excellent cooks, they rely on the traditional wisdom of this mortar and pestle. Okay, I've given you a lowdown on the history of spices and how they form a very special relationship with our food and how diverse are these spices, which is why Indian food is so diverse. Now, spices have a very, very special connection with royal dining. Royal dining is known as the dastarkhan in India, and this is what it looks like. It is a royal spread, and spices have played a very critical role in creating this royal spread. This spread was created by the Mughals almost 800, 700 years back. And when we talk about the history of royal dining, we have to talk about the state of Awadh, which was a former state of India. It is in the state of Awadh where royal dining reached its ultimate height. It was the royal chefs of Awadh who used exotic spices, exotic herbs, added a high degree of sophistication and etiquette, as you can see in the picture, and created this amazing spread of food. They also used aromatic flowers like the saffron and rose to add aroma and sophistication to their dishes. Today, the city of Lucknow, as you can see on your right, is the city which exemplifies this culture of royal dining. It's a very beautiful city known for its architecture and also for its fine dining. The city of Lucknow is situated in the northern part of India, about 500 kilometers from Delhi. I've also attached and tried to give you a flavor of what a royal family from the city of Lucknow looks like. So Lucknow is the city which has perfected the art of royal dining and has used spices in a very, very sophisticated manner. Now, I have introduced Lucknow to you, But I'm going to talk about two delicacies which come from this beautiful city where royal dining was perfected. The first delicacy is called the pulao. What is the pulao? The pulao is a rice delicacy, as you can see in the picture, with chicken or mutton. Now, what happens in this is that you cook the rice separately with exotic spices, drain the water and keep the rice aside. You cook the chicken and mutton separately with exotic spices, with aromatic spices, and then the half-cooked rice, the chicken or mutton, depending on what you use, are layered in a traditional pot. That pot is then generously sprinkled with saffron, as you can see, or rose water, and is sealed with dough. This pot is then set to cook on a low flame. The thing about making the pulao is it has to be cooked in layers on a very, very low flame. And the reason for that is when you cook on a low flame, you actually bring out all the aromas of these exotic spices that you have used. Now, Lucknow is one city which has perfected this art of low flame cooking. The second delicacy from Lucknow are the Galavati kebabs, as you can see in the picture. Now, these are typically beef kebabs. Yes, there are Indians who even eat beef, and that is what makes our country very diverse. Majority are vegetarian, but there are many who eat, even non-vegetarian, and including beef. Now, there's a very interesting story about the Galavati kebabs. There was once a ruler of the state of Awadh I had talked about, and he was 90 years old. He didn't have any teeth. So he asked his royal chef to make kebabs because the ruler was craving to have kebabs. His chef, in order to please this ruler, created this innovation called Galavati kebabs. These kebabs are tenderized with papaya, with exotic spices and herbs, with cream, with cashew nut paste, and finally, what you get to see is this. The final product is so soft and tender that when the Nawab put these kebabs in his mouth, they just melted. Even today, these kebabs are very popular. They are very soft, very tender, and they just melt in your mouth. Now, the typical thing about kebabs is they are eaten with tandoori roti or naan. Tandoori roti and naan are different breads from India, which are baked in a clay oven or a tandoor. I think most of you would have seen or heard about the tandoor. So this is the bread which is cooked in a clay oven. To your right, you can again get a glimpse of the city of Lucknow and its beautiful architecture. And of course, as I mentioned, rose petals play a very, very important role in the royal cuisine of Lucknow. They are used to enhance the aromatic flavors of dishes and also to decorate the royal spread. Okay, Martina, I've done a lot of talking. Time for a quiz. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. But if among our listeners are brave people and would like to answer, you can answer the questions along with me because I feel like student now.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. So I welcome everyone to participate in this quiz. It'll be nice to hear your responses. Okay, here we go. The first question. The golden spice with many medicinal properties and the spice which adds a rich yellow color to all Indian curries is coriander, turmeric, or cumin.
Okay, the answers are coming. Number one, number two. I would say number two, turmeric.
Excellent. Yes, that's the spice which gives the yellow color to an Indian curry.
Okay, a lot of good listeners. Thank you.
Excellent. In India, spices are used for their aroma, taste, nutrition, all of the above.
Okay, number 3, number 4, number 4, number 4, number 4. Okay, I believe you. So all of the above.
Excellent. I talked about the king of spices, the garam masala. Is it an embellishment or the final seasoning? Is it a starter or is it a dessert?
Number 3, number 1, number 1, number 1. Okay, I would also say number 1, an embellishment on a dish.
Absolutely. Please don't use it as an embellishment on a dessert. Okay, last two questions. I talked about two delicacies from Lucknow. One was the pulao. Now, is the pulao a vegetable, a rice and chicken or mutton delicacy, or a side dish?
Okay, I think this one is easy and only correct answers are coming. So number 2, a rice and chicken
Excellent.
delicacy or mutton delicacy.
Excellent. Galavati kebabs. You know, the old Nawab, the ruler who wanted to have kebabs, and his chef had to make them really soft. So, how did he tenderize these kebabs? With potatoes, chocolate, or papaya?
Okay, so number 3 is correct, papaya, and I really like the story. Yes.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, I thank all of you for joining me on this journey of spices. I have a short video attached for all of you to enjoy, to understand the influence of spices on Indian culture.
Spices were traded from India through the centuries, right from the time of the Romans.
The word sweet doesn't mean that it is very sweet, but it is not spicy. In Kalagoda masala, they use more black spices, and that's why it is black masala.
Most of the community here shared certain traditions, and the traditions are very closely wound around the spices that were powdered and put into a bottle.
Okay, I come back to my meet. I hope all of you had enjoyed this wonderful journey of spices. I'll be happy to take questions if any. Please feel free to ask.